Well, hi folks, we're back. Didn't think I'd be doing this today, but I had a brief conversation with my son, the mechanic, and I asked him about what this squeaking could be caused by. And he gave me a good idea, so I'm going to try it and see if it works. First of all, I knew it was connected to the brakes, as I said, because when you'd step on the brakes, the squeaking would stop. But yet, the wheel wasn't seized. You could turn it, although if you notice now, this time it turns a whole lot smoother. Or easier, I should say. So what I did was I took the brake caliper off. Now that attaches over the rotor like this with just two bolts there. You can see where they go through those, the whole top and bottom hole. Pull those apart. There's the piston. The inside there, the hollow piston. When you step on the brakes, that pushes out towards the direction of the camera here, and then in this channel here, the rotor sits in the middle, as you can see, and then around it are brake pads. This is the outside. Let me go up there. That's the outside one, and then there's one in the back. What my son told me was that these little, give me some more light there. These little channels here and on top here, and then of course in the back too, where the ears on these pads slide in and out of, they can get rusty. And when they get rusty, then the pads don't slide freely. They get squeezed in when you engage the brakes, but then they don't slide back out. So you're still contacting the rotor, they're still causing friction, and that leads to the heat and also the squeaking. Even though these pads have quite a bit of life left on them, you can see here this width on the right hand side here, that's the actual pad that works. Just a quick tutorial about how disc brakes work, for those of you who may not familiar with it. This caliper that fits over top of here stays in place, and when you step on the brakes, the piston pushes and it squeezes the pads against the rotor, and it's that friction of pad rubbing against rotor, that pinching action, that causes the vehicle to slow down. That increased friction on here slows the vehicle down. Of course, this is four-wheel disc brakes on this van, so that's you've got all four of those squeezing at the same time when you step on the brakes. So that's how disc brakes work. Drum brakes are a little different, but that's another story. But that's how they work. And I guess apparently what's happening here is when you're stepping on the brakes, they're pinching like they're supposed to, but then they're not releasing enough. They're not relaxing enough when you let go of the brakes. They're still making some contact with the rotor, and that's causing the heat buildup and also the squeaking. So what I'm going to do here on these little channels here is I'm going to clean them as best I can, and then also on these ears of the brake pads I'm going to clean them with a wire brush a bit, and then I'm going to put in these little channels a product that my son absolutely swears by: anti-seize. He puts it on every nut and bolt, he puts on everything, and he says it keeps things from rusting fast. It's a permanent type of lubricant. It doesn't let things come apart on you, of course, but it does keep things workable so that even down the road years or whatever, you can still get nuts and bolts off. So he swears by this stuff. I'm going to give it a try. I just need to be careful of two things. I don't want to get any anti-seize on the rotor surface here, because you want there to be friction there. You don't want lubrication on there. And I have to be careful that I don't get any anti-seize on the surface of the brake pads, because the same thing, you want the friction to happen when they rub against each other to cause the braking. So I've just got to be a little careful how I put it on so it doesn't get in the wrong place. But you want these channels here to be slippery enough that the pads on their ears can slide in and out without hanging up at all. So we'll see what happens. You can see the boots here on the on the the bolts that hold the caliper in place. They're designed to slide in and out with the brakes, and then when we put that caliper back on, they just get attached with these two little bolts like that go through the hole in the caliper and into these. So hopefully that will solve the problem, and there won't be any more squeaking, and I don't need to worry about changing brakes and rotors on this wheel for a long time. I just have to keep an eye if any of the other brakes should start making a squeaking noise, that I've got the same problem. I don't know why this one, but for whatever the case, we'll work on it and see what happens. And I know now for the future, whenever I change brakes, to put some anti-seize on the slides for the caliper or for the pad ears. So I hope this helps you too if you have this similar kind of problem. And like I said before, the previous video, changing brakes isn't that hard. It's fairly simple. It's just a question of having the right parts. Okay, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and we'll have more informative videos about living in the country on a shoestring. Thanks for watching.